I feel like dirt, but that is much better than I felt like in the last couple of days. So Wednesday is probably one of the reasons why I'm so late answering comments. Wednesday I went to bed and everything was kind of fine. I felt a bit warm, and then woke up Thursday morning and I felt like dog meat. I felt so bad. I haven't been this sick in a long time. And I had to go into work anyway because I had to adjust an order. Make sure that we had enough milk to sell in the grocery store. And went home after 30 minutes and wrote that order and just turned around and left. Called in sick on Friday. And, to give you an idea of how often I call in sick, everybody's all, is he okay? I never miss work because of not feeling good. And I slept that Thursday. I slept all night Wednesday night. And then Thursday, I got home and I slept for another 9 hours. And then I woke up, kind of laid around and napped on and off. And then Thursday night, I slept all night long. And then Friday, I woke up on the alarm and said, you know what, I'm still not right to go back to work yet. So I called in sick on Friday and I slept on and off all day yesterday too. But I'm out of stuff. And I'm feeling better. But not nowhere near where I should be feeling. But I got stuff to do. And I'm out of stuff at home. So I'm going to head into town right now and I'm going to pick up pick up some water. I'm out of my bottled water. Pick up some Gatorade. Hydrate up a bit more. And then hopefully I'll have something at the post office when I get there. Unless it's in my post office box here. I can kind of piddle around with that the rest of this weekend. Crazy. I rarely get sick. Just came out of nowhere. Woke up and it felt like I've been snoring so much the night before. My throat was raw. I think before I head home, I'm going to swing by Brother Will's. I grab my towel and my shaving kit. Swing by there and get a nice shower and a shave. That'll feel good to get cleaned up. But I'll show you the road because we are officially in breakup now. And it's absolutely awesome. Because the end is here. The end is upon us. And I can see gravel on the road. That's awesome. Temperatures now are going above freezing and they're not getting too cold at all at night. I mean, we're barely dipping below freezing at all at night. So when that happens in Alaska, stuff melts fast. I mean, really fast. And I am all ready to get this year started. Spring has sprung. Or it will be very soon here. Let's see what we got in the box. Nice, showed up. All right, I'll have something busy or something to keep me busy for the day. I was waiting on that package. I thought for sure I was going to have to go to the post office and pick it up. Ah. All right, let's head to town and go grocery shopping. I got to pick up a few things, like I said, and then we'll get back here to the house and we'll jump onto those cabinets and start doing some more work on it. I picked up a couple of new tools yesterday. I didn't have. One is a palm sander, so I didn't have a palm sander at all. I'm going to sand those cabinets down and get everything done with them before I put them together, because it's much easier to sand that wood before it's, you get all the corners and grooves and nicks and crannies and all that, doing it that way. And then I had to pick up an iron. because the edge banding that goes on the outside lip of all of the plywood, so that you don't see the sandwich plywood stuff, requires an iron to get that to work. So I picked up a cheap iron at Walmart yesterday, like $11. I haven't had an iron in years. All right, let's head to town and get this taken care of, and then I'll catch back up with you guys in a little bit. So I got my edge bending in yesterday, and basically it's just a roll of material that has a wood finish on the outside and a glue finish on the bottom. So I had to pick up an iron because it's applied with heat, and the glue will adhere to these edges so that you don't see those edges on anything on the front of the cabinet. But to give you an idea of the closeness, right, you buy it by species as well. So this is red oak, and this is red oak edge banding. A couple of things I have to do first is, when I cut these pieces, the bigger pieces, it was a lot easier to manipulate the saw and the jigs. But when I cut these smaller pieces, it was not as easy. So I need to find two, like almost perfect ones, that I'll use on the front top. And then, because that's going to get an edge band on it, so that it'll have a frame all the way around, because you'll have the edge banding here, right? And this is an outside edge banding. This will be attached in between the two on the front, and then you'll have edge banding on this, and you'll have edge banding on the next one that comes down, and then you'll have edge banding on the base that'll go in between as well. So what I'm going to do is go through here and pick out the best ones that I'm going to use for the front, and then I'll set those over here with these. And then the other ones will be one on the top in the back and one like this in the back. This one will be used to secure the cabinets to the wall, and this one will be used to actually secure the same thing as the front one, but it'll be used to secure the countertop to the cabinets. And that one doesn't have to be edge band because you're never going to see it. I looked at getting 1/4-inch oak, red oak plywood to do this with, but I'm going to tell you right now that I just decided I'm going to cheap out because that's going to be way too expensive. So I'm just going to end up getting a regular plywood, 1/4-inch, and I'll use that on the back. I don't have dados in any of this, so that 1/4-inch plywood will be applied with staples, and you won't really see it, right? Because you don't, who opens their cabinet and gets down and looks back against the back? Now, if these were upper cabinets where you're opening them up and you can see straight back to the back of them every time you open them, at that point, I'm going to use, if I do uppers, I'm going to definitely use the same plywood for the backing that I'm using for the cabinets themselves. But just going to be a little on the cheap side. I might stain them a darker color, or whatever I decide to do with this, I'll probably do with that, just so there's not a really big difference in the inside. When you look in there, I might even just paint them white so that it gets a bit brighter inside the cabinets when you open them up. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go through and find the two that I like for the cabinets themselves, set those aside. Then the other four, because there's 6 of these strips total, the other 4 I will use for the back, the top, and the back one. And then I want to get all the pocket holes drilled and ready to go. So I'm going to have pocket holes in these pieces, and I'm going to have pocket holes in the bottoms, but I will not have any pocket holes on the sides. Just the videos that I watched on how to build these, that's the way they did it, and it seems pretty good because then all the pocket holes are hidden. After I get that done, I also picked up another Kreg jig. This is for putting the peg holes on the sides, and it's got like a rest on the side here, and it's got its own bit, it's got its own depth gauge and all that, so that you don't drill all the way through the wood. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure those get all drilled too, and then if everything works out right, we're going to go ahead and assemble a couple of cabinets maybe this evening, which would be kind of nice. Oh, and I bought a palm sander because I didn't have one, and I could have gone with a battery operated DeWalt, but the cost was like $159, so I just spent $60 on a regular handheld plug-in DeWalt. I can use that with the OPS power station, or I could use that by firing up the generator and running an extension cord. I'll get everything sanded before I put everything together. So The goal is to get everything edge banded, to get everything drilled that needs to be drilled, get all the pocket holes done. Then I will sand everything, all the finished surfaces. I'll get all those sanded and done. And then I'll put everything together, because once you put it together, trying to sand into the corners and everything else is just going to look nasty. So if you want to know how I know where I have to place this to do it, it's super simple. Up on the front here, you'll see that there's different dimensions of wood. So 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1.5 inch. Right now, I've got it blocked off on the 3/4 inch. So that is for 3/4 inch material. And then after doing the first couple, I realized I needed to back up that clamp so that the material that I was removing could actually have a place to escape, because it escapes out of these holes here. And this clamp is super awesome. You can set the adjustment to whatever you want. But then on top of that, right, you've got the drill, and the drill's got to stop on it as well. And if I could spin it around a bit to show you, there it is. Okay, so the stop on the drill, and it's difficult to see inside the hole right there, but it actually has the same type of deal with measurements. Let's see if I can get that to pop up. Can't really see that on there, but the measurements on the inside also are set up at the same thing as they're set up on here, right? So you have a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 inch, and an 1.5 inch, and you just make sure that for this material, the 3/4 inch is lined up right where it's supposed to be. Oh, that's the wrong thing. That's the pin. That's the one I wanted. There you go. See? 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch, and then right now it's lined up on the 3/4 inch so that you make sure your depth doesn't go too far. They make these stupid Kreg jigs just pretty much foolproof. It's just amazing. When you make those adjustments, I didn't even mention this before, but when you make those adjustments on the top part of this, what you're doing is you're sliding those back so that you get the correct depth of your drill when it's done. So there's 2 stops right there. And basically, I'm running those 2 stops right to the edge there so that I'm going in at the right angle for each one of the screws that are going to go in here. And I'm using 1.25 inch material, or 1.25 inch screws, so that they will go through the board, but they won't go through the other board. The 2 that were the best, and I went ahead and I marked them on where I wanted my front to be, and I've got everything drilled, so I've got all the pocket holes done. And again, just a reminder, do not forget to tell yourself that the pocket holes go on the bottom, because the first time I ever did anything with pocket holes, it was the little nightstand that I have upstairs, and like a moron, I put them in the top on one of them, and I never replaced that board, just to remind myself. So the next is the bottoms, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to pick this up on camera, but there is a good side and a not so good side. I mean, it's red oak on both sides of the panel. I don't believe it is on the inside. So basically, you have to take a couple of things into consideration. Which way is the panel going to be laying? And in this case, it's going to be laying this way, and where's the top? So this is the top, and it's going to be laying this way. Let's double check it and make sure that... Yeah, that's what I want. So I'm going to make pocket hole screws again, but I'm only going to do 3 on each side, and they're going to be on the bottom, and basically they're going to come in from here over. So there'll be like 1, 2, and 3, and that'll be the total depth of my cabinet. 23.5 by 21. Perfect. So I actually think I'm going to do that outside for 2 reasons. One, I can see the material a lot better, and 2, I just had to turn the heater off in here because it's like 73 degrees. We're in breakup, so we're at that stage where it gets warm outside. The nice thing is I don't use a whole lot of propane this time of year. It starts to dwindle down until I'm using none at all. But I think I'm going to do this outside just so I can have some fresh air. So here's the next jig that I'm going to be using, and this is basically the shelf support jig from Kreg, and these are 5mm holes on here, and it comes with a detachable slide that'll go either here on the other side, or you can work it without anything at all, depending on where you want your holes to be. So if I wanted this to be right here, then the slide works great. But if I wanted this to be over here, I could just detach the side, clamp it there, and work on its way up. So after you get an idea where you want your bottom pinhole to be, if you have to go multiple runs on this, you can buy another one of these jigs that clips together, or you could just say, okay, this is my first hole, this would be my last hole, and then slide it up until you get to the spot that your last hole was at, and it would just lock right in there, and then everything else would be fine. And then when you needed to, so this would be the last hole, you go boom, 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 and you just keep moving this thing wherever you want it to go. The neat thing about these jigs that I like too is that they all have, shoot, here, put this back on there, compartments in the back to hold everything. So just like the previous jig, the pocket hole jig, this has got a stop on it. So what I've done is I've run it through here. That is as far down as it'll go, and that is as far out as it will come. And originally I took a tape measure. This is 3/4 inch material. I took a tape measure and measured out a 1/2 inch, but just to be sure, I grabbed a box of 5mm pins. And I always put these in Ziploc bags after I open them, just in case the stupid thing falls off the shelf. So you're not picking up pins all over the place. They're all inside the bag. Come on. Yeah, there we go. So I took this pin and lined it up to make sure that it was going to cut as deep as it needed to cut to get to the proper depth for the pin. I hate when I buy stuff. You know, you buy a bookcase from one of the big box stores and you go to put the thing together, and when you're done, the holes aren't drilled far enough.
So I'm giving myself just a little bit of play on there as well. See where that lines up right now. Basically, that comes right to this shoulder, so it'll have a little bit of play in there. I've never used one of these before, so I'm just going to use some common sense, and I'm going to say that if I measure up a certain distance from the bottom for my first pin, and actually if I kind of center this, right? If I measure up a certain distance from my first pin, then drill all these holes, and I measure the same distance over there, and then drill all the holes again, they'll be lined up properly on both sides. And then I'll need to do the same thing, the same measurement on this board. Again, measure up from the bottom on both sides, drill the holes, and I should be good to go. Chickens are all excited because they're laying eggs. They're, look, I laid an egg. Oh, what do I want to do here? I'll measure to the base of this jig. And basically, I'll call that 9 inches. It should be 10 inches to the bottom one. Up. Let's do that now. So we'll do 9 inches here. And 9 inches here. I think I'm going to move that line. Oh, you know what? I can just grab my speed square. So it'll be, should be about 10 inches to that bottom one. Yep, and then looks like 16.5 inches to the top one. So I could either have my shelf, my bottom shelf, at 16.5 inches, or I can have my bottom shelf all the way down to 10 inches. So narrow on the bottom, big on the top, or narrow on the top, big on the bottom. And I like that. That's more than enough adjustment for me. I can't imagine I'm going to need to adjust it any further. If down the road I decided I wanted to go ahead and do more, then it would be easy enough to just mount this jig in here with one of the pins, get it all lined up again, and be able to mount even more holes on there. I'm wondering if I should do 3 shelves, or 2 shelves and 3 pockets. I mean, basically, if I divide this number 31 inches by 3, basically I'm looking at 10 1/3 inches on each one. So I could have a lot more storage in there without stacking. So I might do that. So we'll do 2 rows all the way up on that. Oh yeah, that was it. Just surges. All right. So I just kind of stretch this to length, and then stretched it to length, and then I snapped it right off. Just want to be careful that you don't do it too hot or you'll scorch the wood. Go a little hotter with this iron. It's not very hot. This is going to take a bit of getting used to. So from that right there to that right there. So I thought I'd pull this up and give you a little bit closer look if it'll zoom in or not. All right. So that was this. So this is what it looks like to begin with. This is what it looks like afterwards. There should be a little lip left on the top and the bottom because this is a little, this is a little oversized based on the actual thickness of the wood, even though this comes for 3/4 inch. Just have to make sure that I lay it down nice and straight. And then when I sand this off and clean this off, you won't see any of that on there at all. Come on, focus in. There we go. You won't see any of the edge at all when I get it all sanded down. I'm pretty satisfied with that. So it looks like I'm edge banding. So if the pins are to the inside, then I'm either doing this side or this side. And I'm basically looking at the cabinet as it's going to be installed. So this side is the side I'll do. Some of these bigger pieces, I can see where they're really a hassle to deal with. I'll make sure I've got a little bit hanging over each edge so I have something to clean up when it's finished. They make an edge banding tool that you can use to trim off the edges. That's just my alarm telling me it's half an hour from time to go live on YouTube, but I'll let everybody know that since I've been sick for the last 3-4 days, I wasn't going to be live today. I haven't been able to get anything done. And actually, today's the first day I'm actually feeling decent. Semi-decent. I'm still hacking. Come on. Anyway, they make a edge banding trim tool that you can pretty much slide right down the edge to clean up the little overhang that's on here, and I didn't buy that. I'm just going to use a sander. Hopefully it'll be fine. This iron's a piece of junk though. It's only 11 bucks. If I can get all of the edge banding done on all of the cabinets off of this little iron, then it will pay for itself. Actually turned out pretty nice. And the nice thing about this edge banding, like I think I've said before, is that it should take the stain just like the rest of the wood does, because it's actually the same species of wood the veneer is. That one. And we got this one. Now I'm keeping my lines on the same plane over here. I don't know if you can see where these lines here, I'm keeping them in the same location on both when I edge band them so that I know they're facing in the proper direction and the right up or down location that they should be in theory when I put them together. This was a 50-foot roll of edge banding. I'm pretty sure I'll need to order some more when I'm done doing all the cabinets. But we'll have to wait and see when we get to that point. I don't mind having a little bit extra of this sitting around. Sanding these up, and then I won't be putting it together until later on this week, so that'll be the next week's video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Sean in Alaska, and I'm feeling much better now. Have a fantastic week. As always, thanks for joining me.